folks. This is my first album review that I've done since Eminem's Kamikaze came out 3 years ago. Kanye West finally dropped Donda. It's his 10th album. It's like a eulogy concept that he did in dedication to his mother who passed away, like 11, 12 years ago due to surgery complications. Her name was Donda, so that's how you draw that connection. First thing that we need to talk about, is this album any good? Is Kanye still crazy? Yes, Kanye is still crazy, but this album is also flames. It's very long though. That's the first thing you should know. It's an hour and 47 minutes, and it's a bit self-indulgent. There's one song called Jesus Lord that is 8 minutes, and then there is a deluxe version of that song on the same album at the end. It's 11 minutes. I didn't actually finish that version. I got like 10 and a half minutes in, and I'm like, I've gotten everything that I needed out of this album. So 2 songs account for 1/7 of the album's length, but overall, I think that the album is paced very well. I think it all comes together very well. There are some tracks that I don't think hit quite as hard as others. The Donda chant that intros the track, I understand the purpose behind it. Each Donda is supposed to represent his mother's heartbeat as she, approached her death all that time ago. But the way that it comes across, it just feels kind of silly. I understand the intention behind it. Does it work? Sure. But is the threshold of accessibility too thick because it sounds so silly? For a lot of people, yes. I was kind of just hurrying, or like hoping that the song would hurry up so I could get to Jail, which is one of the best songs on the entire album. I'm gonna pull up the track list real quick, actually. Bear with me here. I want to highlight a couple of songs that are definitely high points in the album. Because if you ask me, the entire thing is good. Okay, you know what? Before we actually get into that, another thing that should be mentioned is this album a gospel album? Because the last thing that Kanye put out was Jesus is King, which was supposed to be called Yandi, which was going to be a sequel album to his Yeezus album. Was that whole thing just a phase in his career, or does it seem to be a thing that's sticking? I would not say that this is a gospel album per se, but there are a lot of Christian themes, there are a lot of biblical themes, praise themes. I mean, there's a song called Praise God. Where am I at? There's, oh wow, this has been getting played very, very heavily. Another thing, there are no explicit tracks on this album. Even if there is a feature, a guest on the song like DaBaby or Lil Baby or whoever else, Ariana, if they swear in their verse or in their part, it gets censored as if it was a radio version. Kanye seemed to be very serious about cleaning up his act, I guess. Now, if you still feel like it's a phase, then you're totally entitled to feel that way. I think he's being more sincere about it than a lot of us gave him credit for a couple of years ago. But I want to call attention to a couple of tracks here: Jail, God Breathed, Hurricane, Jonah, where is it? Remote Control, Moon, Heaven and Hell, No Child Left Behind, and New Again. I think those tracks right there are definitely the songs that you should listen to first, unless you're gonna long play the entire thing. It's like a double album, so like if you have the time, you should just long play it. But if you're trying to pick out a couple of good songs that you should listen to get a feel for how the album is paced and constructed, those songs definitely: Remote Control, Heaven and Hell, Jail, God Breathed, and Hurricane. The Weeknd's vocals on Hurricane, man, that's another thing. The features are prevalent. They are heavy. There are all sorts of artists on this album, and a lot of people don't like that so much because in a way it feels like Kanye is a feature on his own album. And I've listened to albums that have felt like that. Save Rock and Roll by Fall Out Boy had so many features that felt like they were guest stars. Gorillaz Humans was a huge example of that. In fact, I'm gonna pull up Gorillaz Humans real quick just to talk about. It's already in my recent searches. How many actual tracks in this song? Wow. The interludes and intros have only been played a couple thousand times each. That's interesting. Songs that Damon Albarn actually sings on Humans include Ascension, Saturn's Bars, moments, if you want to count the main event, yellow, red, black, eye, dirty, but that's all he does. Charger, Andromeda, Busted in Blue, Let Me Out, She's My Caller, We Got the Power, The Apprentice, even though all he says is I am a mirror, Out of Body, Ticker Tape, and there you go. And that only accounts for about half of the songs. And on a lot of those songs, Damon's barely there. He'll say a line or two. So I totally understand the perspective of like feeling like when you're listening to an album that the artist whose name is on the record is barely featured. Daft Punk, Random Access Memories, great example of that as well. But if you can get past that, I don't think it matters because you have some crazy talent on this album. I mean, Hova's there. Ye and Hova go together like macaroni and cheese, honestly. Ye and Hova have been working together, have been business partners for so long that it's hard to imagine a Ye album that doesn't have Jay-Z on it. And a lot of people don't even consider Jay-Z a rapper. He's more of a producer these days, but you still think of Ye when you think of Jay. So it's like, obviously, they're going to be together. And he's on quite a few tracks. Ariana Grande is on a couple. The Weeknd's on a couple, I think. There's a crazy amount of features here on the album. There are problematic people like DaBaby and Marilyn Manson, but I can't even remember what song Marilyn Manson's on. I don't remember hearing his voice when I was listening to the album. DaBaby, I have actually never listened to on his own. I've heard him only as features. I'm not that impressed by him personally. I understand that what he said about the LGBTQ plus community and spreading misinformation by HIV and AIDS is very concerning to some. So I understand if you don't want to listen to what track is he on? Jail 2, right? Jail Part 2. If you don't want to listen to Jail Part 2 because he's on it, I totally understand that. If you don't want to listen to whatever song Marilyn Manson's on because he's on it, I understand that. But I do think that if you're listening to a Kanye West album, then an artist being problematic or having a problematic past might not be that big of a deal to you because it's not like Kanye's record is squeaky clean. But it seems like he's getting it together. That's whatever. Now, I said earlier that the album is really good. Is it good ironically, like Lift Yourself, or I Love It? Or is it actually good, like Graduation, or 808s and Heartbreak, which I think are his best albums? My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, The Life of Pablo. All great, solid albums that you pretty much think of when you hear Kanye West's name. Sure, a lot of people really like Yeezus. I don't care much for it. I like Black Skinhead, and that's pretty much it. And the answer to that question, is it ironically good or is it actually good? I think yes. I think there are points in the album where I'm just like, only Kanye. There's a joke that he makes about Adam from the Book of Genesis having to be white because a black man would never share his rib. That was funny. There's a part at the end of Remote Control where you hear the glob glow gab galab, and I'm just like, only Yeezy could get away with that. And it's very Kanye West, but it works. I think it's good. Is this Kanye's best album? No. I still think that's 808s and Heartbreak, mostly off the strength of Heartless and Love Lockdown. Those songs have been on my playlist for 10 years. But all of this really comes down to your personal taste. Do you like Kanye since he lost his mother? Do you prefer older Kanye? Do you want some sort of like return to form for Kanye? Because this kind of serves as that. There's also a lot of Kanye singing on the album without autotune. Does not sound great, but it's okay. It's Kanye. Overall, though, if I were to give this album a number rating, it doesn't feel right to give it a rating because of what it's supposed to be. But if I were to do that, I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. You know, I don't do that sort of thing. So you know what? Let's convert it from like my movie scale, right? Because movie scale, I have Spectabulous, I have Worth Buying on Blu-ray, Worth the Price of Admission, won't remember it in a couple of days, belongs in the trash. I think that this album is worth listening to all the way through. I think you should give it a long play if you have 2 hours to spare. If you're not doing anything this weekend, if you have free time at work, whatever. If you have the time to listen to this album, let it play all the way through. I think you'll find it to be quite the enriching experience. That's all I got to say. I'll see you guys very soon.